Bid £1,650 on your showcase. The actual price of your showcase is £1,844. A difference of £194. You've done it! Oh, bless you, well done. You've done it. My dear. Commiserations. But you haven't done too badly. You haven't done too badly. There we are. Oh, lovely. Oh, wonderful. That's the wife. Stay with it. They appear like magic. Oh, look at her. Oh, look at that. That's lovely. Well, there we are. Carmen, my dear, you didn't win your showcase, but you're taking away a cheval mirror, an ice cream maker, stereo cassette, and a rowing machine. So you've done very well. Have you enjoyed yourself? You've got 4 lovely items to take away with you, and good luck with your A-levels from all of us. Ian, you won it. Come here. And Pamela. Is it Pamela? Yeah. How are you? You have won, Ian, a pair of Chinese lamps, a spice rack, a brandy warmer, a dishwasher, and the breakfast china, and a complete modern kitchen featuring a pine Welsh dresser, a pine table, 4 beach chairs, an upright freezer, a tumble dryer, another dishwasher, a washing machine, and a larder fridge. It's all yours, sir. Congratulations. And we will see you once again next week when once again I will be able to say, come on down, the price is right.
And now, here are today's Shinty results. In the Weatherseal Double Glazing League Division 1, the match between Kinnochio and Bewley was postponed. Lovat 3, Fort William 0, Newtonmore 1, Glenurquhart 2, and the match between Skye and Kingnewsy was also postponed. In the Weatherseal Double Glazing League Division 2, Lochaber 8, Boleskine 1. Carron versus Caberfay, the match between them was also postponed. Justglass 2, Glengarry 1. And finally, in the Macaulay Cup second round replay, Kingnewsy 6, Bewley 1. And those are today's Shinty results.
Please something we can all sing along with, Grandpappy. If you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club.
If you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club. If you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club.
Jacob's Club. All that real thick chocolate makes it well worth picking.
If you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club.
Papa? Voici John.
How do you do?
Enchanté. Évidemment, personne n'a l'air mal, mais enfin, c'est tout de même dommage que ce soit un Anglais. Enfin, Képi, c'est pas pour ça qu'on t'a envoyé faire tes études en Angleterre, non?
He likes you.
Oh, qu'est-ce que ça veut dire ta mère quand elle va apprendre tout ça? Tu sais qu'elle avait d'autres vues sur toi, d'autres idées?
For you, sir.
Oh, le piador. Oh, quelle bonne idée, mon garçon. Venez, je vais vous présenter à ma femme.
I knew you will persuade him.
Very good.
Les Français adorent le piador.
Nescafe, anyone? Ah, music to my ears. Is the maestro with us? Let's see.
Nescafe?
Eh?
You know, Nescafe, with that special blend and roast. That richer, smoother taste. Tchaikovsky's first.
No, second. Nescafe always comes first.
Nescafe, coffee at its best.
Vlad the Impaler here. You know, after a hard day impaling people, there's nothing I like better than to curl up in front of the telly and watch Who Dares Wins on Channel 4. It's most enjoyable, it's funny, it's sharp and to the point. A bit like impaling, really. Don't miss it.
Who Dares Wins. Funny, sharp, and... to the point.
You're watching Grampian Television. The time now is fast approaching 10 to 9 as we join newscaster Anne Lufus for the latest news bulletin from ITN.
Teachers say yes to pay deal, but only just. The spy case, Sir Robert's role makes him damaged goods, says Steele. Kinnoch's mission to deliver the non-nuclear message to America. And England's new hero, first Test century for Richards. Good evening. The biggest teachers' union has shown it's seriously split on the provisional pay deal agreed last week with the local authorities. An NUT conference in Blackpool voted narrowly to accept the deal, but more than 100,000 votes, that's 45%, were cast against. Now there'll be a national ballot of NUT members.
It was a rowdy meeting with speakers from both sides drowned out by angry hecklers. The union leaders argued the agreement was vital to stop Mr. Baker imposing his own solutions. But those against called it a sellout.
Fail to do it and reject it, and you cannot possibly expect parents and public to campaign with us.
If we run away, Baker will come back for more. Turkeys don't vote for Christmas.
It's not the membership that's lost its nerve, colleagues. It's the leadership.
Don't make it easy for Baker.
The vote was far closer than anyone expected. Although everyone was against Mr. Baker's offer, almost half the teachers don't think the employer's offer is much better and want to reject them both. Now, the clear split within the union may well encourage Kenneth Baker to impose his own settlement. Sarah Cullen, ITN, Blackpool.
The Liberal leader, Mr. Steele, has launched a strong personal attack on the Cabinet Secretary, Sir Robert Armstrong. He said Sir Robert would have to go if the Conservatives failed to get a majority at the next general election. Sir Robert, who's a civil servant, is giving evidence in Australia about the MI5 book the government doesn't want published. Mr. Steele told Alliance councillors in Keele that Sir Robert was damaged goods. He said that was because the Cabinet Secretary had become involved in Mrs. Thatcher's political scandals. Mr. Steele said Sir Robert cut a pathetic and preposterous figure in Sydney. He said it was difficult to believe he could command the confidence of the opposition parties or put the public interest before political and partisan considerations. The SDP leader, Dr. Owen, says Sir Robert should issue an ultimatum to the Prime Minister, abandon the MI5 court case or get someone else to give evidence. Labour's Shadow Home Secretary, Mr. Kaufman, says he wants to know why the Attorney General wasn't consulted about the government decision not to publish a previous spy book. The Tory MP, Mr. Harry Greenway, described the Labour leader, Mr. Kinnoch, as disgusting because he'd telephoned the Australian lawyer contesting the government's case. A bomb explosion has wrecked a Northern Ireland pub. It was in Newry, where 39 people were injured 2 days ago in a mortar attack meant for the local police station. A warning was given before tonight's bombing and no one was hurt. A Belfast police station was also attacked tonight.
It was at about 5:30 this evening that a lone gunman stepped out of the crowd and threw an improvised hand grenade into the observation post at the front of the fortified police station. The officer manning the post was lucky to get outside before it exploded. The attack took place in the heart of the city, right beside a toy shop packed with Christmas shoppers. Passers-by threw themselves to the ground as the gunman fired several shots into the air before running away down Queen Street. One shot was fired back at him by a passing police patrol, but the gunman managed to make good his escape. The area was tonight being carefully searched by police and army explosives experts in case further devices had been left there. Coming as it does hot on the heels of last Thursday's mortar attack on Nayu Sea Station in Newry, tonight's attack here can only serve to sharpen fears of renewed terrorist activity in the coming months. Charles Hodson, ITN, Belfast.
The Labour Party leader, Mr Neil Kinnock, is just starting a week's visit to America to explain Labour's non-nuclear defence policy. Republicans and Democrats have criticised Labour's intention of getting rid of nuclear weapons while staying in NATO.
Neil Kinnock set off on his 8-day trip, knowing it's likely to be dominated by one topic, the Labour Party's defence policy. Many Americans are deeply suspicious of Labour's plans to make Britain nuclear-free if they win the next election. It would mean America withdrawing its cruise missiles from bases like Greenham Common and those aircraft and submarines in Britain which carry nuclear arms.
What we are saying very honestly to the British people and to the world and to our allies like America is that they can take the choice between an incredible defence policy that tries to build up nuclear weapons even more and then can't do the job of maintaining our conventional defence obligations for the defence of Britain and for proper participation in NATO, especially in Germany and in the North Atlantic, and a rational defence policy that says, look, you give us the job to do of proper conventional defence by land, sea and air, and we will see that the resources of this country are properly used.
Are you expecting a hostile reaction from the Americans?
No, I find that people are very friendly and are interested rather than agitated, and as long as we can conduct the discussion on a rational basis, which invariably is the case, then the trip for myself and for them will be beneficial.
As he left from Gatwick Airport, Mr Kinnock said he was confident he could persuade the Americans that there's no Labour threat to the special relationship between Britain and the US. Joe Andrews, ITN, Gatwick Airport.
American FBI officials investigating the sale of US arms to Iran are to visit Israel to question people thought to be involved in the deal. The US Attorney General Edwin Meese has said Israeli middlemen deposited money from the weapons sale in a Swiss bank for the use of rebels fighting the Nicaraguan government. The Common Market has called for further joint action against Syria to combat terrorism in Europe. On Wednesday, 2 Palestinians who were jailed for a terrorist bomb attack admitted Syrian officials had supplied them with the explosives. Pope John Paul has called on the Australian Aborigines to be given back their traditional land. He was in Alice Springs addressing the largest ever meeting of Aborigines. He told them the deeds of yesterday must now be remedied. They gave him gifts, including a hat in their traditional colours. 5 Australian chemical workers have died after a huge explosion and fire at a plant in Sydney. 14 others were injured, some seriously. The men had been working with welding equipment near an empty vat. Now sport, as England move into top gear in the Test series with centuries from David Gower and Jack Richards down under. Here's Giles Smith with all the details.
The headlines tonight, the top 6 in the First Division all win, but Arsenal stay top, handing out a 4-0 thrashing to Aston Villa. In the UK snooker, Davis and Folds are neck and neck, but the real heroics are still coming from down under. Centuries from David Gower and Jack Richards, his first in a Test, and a late wicket from Graham Dilley have put England in a commanding position in the second Test in Perth. At the end of the second day, Australia were 19 for 1 in reply to England's 592 for 8 declared.
In the City of the America's Cup, Australia's hopes of regaining the Ashes are sinking fast. This morning they enjoyed 2 early successes. First Gatting went for 14. And Reid finally got rid of Broad, his marathon innings ending on 162. Then on a golden Perth day, England's golden boy of old found his Midas touch again. David Gower played with all the majesty and confidence that so recently has been so lacking. Almost unnoticed, Botham disappeared for a duck, but for once it didn't matter. Because Jack Richards joined Gower in a demolition job Botham would have been proud of.
You won't see many better shots than that off the legs. Down the wicket he comes, and the field has gone the wrong way. Well, that may well...
Gower reached his century first, his 14th Test 100 and his 6th against Australia.
Applause coming in the grandstand.
And then Richards was on the verge of his first Test 100.
And there it is for Jack Richards, a well-earned century. He really has played particularly well, his first Test century.
The Australians were humiliated by a player they probably hadn't heard of before this tour.
And down towards the boundary, and a very wary Bruce Reed loping down there afterward.
The captain was loving every minute of it, and England's delight didn't end there. Boone and Marsh had to last less than an hour, and they couldn't even manage that.
One down.
Botham's smile was broader than ever at a contest that's turning into a joke. Mark Austin, ITN Sport, Australia.
At home in Penzance, Jack Richards' parents celebrated their son's maiden century on TV, but heard it much earlier.
Heard it on the radio from 3 o'clock onwards. Keen interest. Wife and I drinking whiskey, sipping whiskey underneath the bedclothes. And just waiting for that glorious time to come of his 100, his time.
Soccer now. 2 goals from Clive Allen, 21 this season, weren't enough to stop Nottingham Forest. Neil Webb's goal gave Forest victory. Jan Molby scored again from the penalty spot for Liverpool against Coventry. John Walk scored Liverpool's second. Brian Robson came on for Manchester United at Wimbledon, but United still lost 1-0. Manager Alex Ferguson admitted United's recovery has a long way to go. And in Scotland, Ali McCoist gave Rangers an early lead against Hearts before Davy Cooper scored 2 more goals for the Ibrox team. The top 6 teams all won today to maintain their position in the First Division, but it was at Villa Park where Arsenal showed why they're being seriously considered for the title.
After a scrappy opening, Arsenal drew first blood when a shot from Hayes was deflected in by Keown. Not the ideal start against the club who sold him to Villa only last summer. The home side hit back, but just couldn't unravel the intricacies of a solid defence. Arsenal thought they'd increased their lead in the second half, when Groves headed in from a corner, but Hayes was clearly offside. 10 minutes later, and Rocastle sets up another chance for Hayes. And this one did count. 2-0, with Arsenal now beginning to enjoy themselves. Groves was determined to get his name on the score sheet, and certainly Villa's defence seemed anxious to help. Arsenal were now running riot, Rocastle completing Villa's humiliation with a piece of control that left the crowd just a little more convinced of Arsenal's title potential. Mitch Price for ITN Sport.
Racing, and in the big race of the day at Sandown, 22-year-old Jackie Oliver brought 16-to-1 top-weight Enoch storming through the field in the last furlong to beat Ballydurrow and last year's winner Cry Seor. Favourites Juvenlight and Hypnosis had led for most of the race but finished nowhere. Finally, in the UK Snooker Championship at Preston, without Hurricane Higgins, the latest score is Steve Davis 7 frames, Neil Falls 4. The best of 31 frame final continues tomorrow.
And finally, Terry Waite today experienced what he described as a pleasant interlude from military and political crossfire. The Archbishop of Canterbury's special envoy received an honorary doctorate in law from the University of Kent at a ceremony in Canterbury Cathedral. And that's the news tonight. Good night.
And now tonight's regional weather forecast. First for tonight, most places will have a mild night. Sheltered eastern parts will stay mainly dry. The northern Isles and northwest Scotland will, however, have quite thick cloud, giving some rain and hill fog. And southwest winds will also become strong in exposed places in the north. Now the forecast for Sunday, first for the northern Isles, where it will stay mild but quite cloudy, with rain at times and fresh, occasionally strong southwest winds. Northwest Scotland, Sutherland, Caithness, the western Moray Firth and the west central Highlands will also be quite cloudy but mild with rain at times, more persistent over the northwest where there will be hill fog. Well-sheltered places such as the eastern Moray Firth, Dundee, parts of the east central Highlands and East Grampian, including Aberdeen, should have a mostly dry and mild day with variable cloud and the odd bright interval. And finally, the outlook for Monday and Tuesday: colder but brighter conditions in the north and west, and strengthening southwest winds promising milder weather again. And that's the weather.
Is yours a Maxwell House?
There, clean as a...
You really
should eat something, Lizzie.
No time!
But I'm Multiwave from Thorn.
So what?
Give me some food. I'll show you. Thorn have made me easy to use. Not only do I cook as fast as any microwave, my special halogen lamps grill and roast for crispy chicken, perfect pork, superb soufflés. What more can you ask for?
A herd of elephants to help me eat all this?
Multiwave from Thorn. Technology you're at home with.
Yeah, Christmas.
You needn't come then.
I probably won't.
Ooh, vintage character port. Asda ship it from a Porto, you know.
What happened to your British Christmas?
Stilton?
I bet it's been frozen or fiddled about with.
Asda Stilton is natural and fresh. What about a little Christmas pudding then, eh? Or will you be having some of ours, a luxury Asda one with Bron Monnier, all ready to wrap in muslin?
What's wrong with using your vest?
Please yourself. Now, Lisa's present.
Hey, what about a doll?
Oh, Dad, she's only 2.
Webster the spider.
We'll get you a card.
Well, I just might give it to her myself.
Oh, I see. Fine. So we will be seeing you for Christmas Day.
When you've the whole world to choose from at Asda, you'd be off your trolley to go anywhere else.
I'll just put this little pudding back then.
When I fall in love. Walls Viennetta. It will pure white ice cream, tantalizingly interleaved with crisp, dark, chocolatey layers. Walls Viennetta. From the sweet trolley. Desserts you can't help falling in love with.
You were nobbled by McVitie's digestive. You were nobbled by McVitie's rich tea. You were nobbled by McVitie's chocolate home wheat. Now there's a new classic, McVitie's Hob-Nobs, made with rolled oats, wholemeal and syrup. For a home-baked taste that's so scrumptious. He's been nobbled, McVitie's new Hob-Nobs. Just one nibble and you're nobbled.
Sorry to hear about the missus, mate. What happened?
Yeah, well, she took the ute down to the store. Get some tucker and a few 4X. And that was the last I saw of her.
That's terrible, mate. What'd you do?
Oh, it's all right. Found some 4X in the fridge.
Australians wouldn't give a Castlemaine 4X for anything else.
Sid? Sid? Oh, flippin' heck. Where are you?
You only have 4 days left to get your application in for British gas shares.